Okay, this is Pete Tong. This is Pete Tong, and you're listening to BBC Radio 1. I'm just joking. Thank you for being here on episode 3. I want to ask you a question. How many times have you achieved something that in your mind you thought was supposed to completely change everything? Maybe it was a promotion at work, or a big deal that you closed, or a big move overseas, only to then feel emptiness creep in again. You know, you have this voice in the back of your mind that's constantly asking, well, what's next? Where to from here? So, even though you tick every box on your to-do list, you hit every milestone, somehow it feels like you're still not doing enough. And you might tell yourself that you're driven, that you're ambitious, that you're chasing growth, but deep down in your body, it's starting to feel more like survival. You're stressed, you're anxious, and you can't slow down at all. And that's because you've built your life on forward motion. So slowing down feels like you're losing momentum. Even taking a rest, a nap, a chill, feels like guilt. It feels so uncomfortable. And peace, true inner peace, even though deep down you really crave it, feels unsafe. It feels like a complete waste of time. And so you chase. And so the cycle repeats itself. You chase more quote unquote success, more goals, more improvement. And that's because your nervous system has been trained to believe that safety only exists when you're taking action, when you're moving forward. And so it's not the fact that you're chasing growth and have big goals that's keeping you stuck in this state. It's the conditioning that you have been exposed to. And that's what we're going to be unpacking in today's episode. We're going to really explore why you can't ever feel satisfied and at peace, even when you win, even when you achieve a really beautiful goal that you had desired for a while. We'll ground this in modern psychology and neuroscience to really explain the endless pursuit of chasing more, which often creates so much suffering. So we'll also talk about the 4 subtle yet very dangerous traps that keeps achievers, performers, seekers running on autopilot, and how to finally step off the treadmill without losing your drive, without losing your edge. So by the end of this episode, you'll really understand what's driving this chase for more, and you'll walk away with practical tools to actually create inner peace that lasts, and the kind of peace that comes from alignment instead of achievement. And it's really to help you continue creating more beautiful things in your life, to continue growing. I'm not saying growth is bad, but I'm saying that there's a really important difference between achievement and growth from a place of never feeling satisfied and constantly living in survival and stress and anxiety, and creating beautiful things in your life, achieving things, hitting your goals from an authentic, peaceful, grounded, sustainable place. That's what I want you to experience. And the chase really begins in childhood, right? And I mean, you kind of know a little bit more about my story since episode 1. My story certainly began with a lot of praise when I was doing well at school, winning academic awards, getting A pluses. I was told I was very smart, I was very clever, I'm doing really well. And so that starts the cycle of being praised for output instead of effort and presence, right? Again, there's no blame or shame towards those that may have started this cycle, again, because they're doing the best that they could with the tools that they had, and it was coming from a very loving place, right? And so this is an opportunity to understand that, have love and compassion and understanding for why this happened and for those people, and to change or flip the script, I should say, so it actually serves you instead of continuing to run your life into pits of despair and dissatisfaction and stress and anxiety. And certainly in Romanian culture, which is my heritage, even though I was born in Australia, there is a huge emphasis and value placed on academic achievement. And at least from what I was exposed to with my parents and the Romanian circles that we've been a part of, is establishing oneself in a very secure, seemingly, what's the word I'm looking for? Seemingly decorated role like a doctor or a lawyer or a high profile executive. And so, yeah, there was a huge emphasis placed on that. And then what I did internally was equate academic achievement with love. And if I wasn't working, then the label that came along with that was laziness or you're not doing enough. And I remember even when I was rowing, doing schoolboy rowing at my secondary high school, certain coaches definitely placed a massive emphasis on training and progress and growth and not as much on rest and recovery. And it was deemed like you were lagging behind and weren't actually putting in effort if you were resting. Even I remember one of our fellow rowers was sick and in the hospital, and the coach actually went to the hospital and sprayed him for not rowing when he's sick and in hospital. I mean, insanity. But I digress. The point is, these experiences start the chain of conditioning. And as we'll explore more and more on this podcast, over 95% of your beliefs, perceptions, actions, behavior are running at a subconscious level. And a big part of these programs that run subconsciously, the formation of them is in our early childhood years, and especially 0 to 7, but certainly in the teenage years as well. Our brains are still developing and we're very susceptible and suggestible to the environment around us. And so we're just taking all of this in, and because our conscious reasoning faculty isn't fully formed and fully developed, it's not like we can accept or reject what's happening around us, at least not until we get older. And so that then starts building the subconscious storehouse of emotions and beliefs and values, which actually influence our behavior day to day. And throw hustle culture into the mix and social media, lifestyles, constant comparison, and then it creates this illusion that I'm always behind. And this has certainly been my experience for a very long time. I remember launching my startup in the mental health space, thinking this is it, I've made it. But a week later, I was restless. I was stressed. If I thought that once we raised money, that would make me feel good. And we did it. And it was fleeting. And then it was the next thing, and it was getting users onto our platform and then getting paid clients, and then it was winning awards and then getting invited to do speaking engagements. And so I loved it and it was very fulfilling. However, I was still chasing the next thing. It was still like a drug, which I didn't realize that I was taking at the time, but that's really what it was, because the success, the experience of enjoying those achievements didn't feel fully joyful. It still felt like survival. I was still stressed out. My nervous system was completely dysregulated. I was operating from this scarcity mindset, like if I stop, then everything's going to come crumbling down. Fear that, I wasn't yet good enough and I need to achieve more to escape the shame of just being, quote unquote mediocre or quote unquote average. And I mean, my story. If you listen to episode 1, I certainly felt below average with my history of substance abuse and dealing with the law as well. And so around that time, I certainly felt very insecure, very inadequate. So that chasing after, as Tibetan Buddhists would say, when your mind is in chasing after mode, you're not present with your life and you're not present with what you are. And, there's nothing groundbreaking here. I mean, we know this, yet we're still playing out these programs because 95% of them are unconscious, right? So 95% of our behavior, I should say, is driven by these unconscious programs. So it's really important to understand this and have an awareness of it and realize I'm not acting authentically. I'm not acting from my truth. I'm acting from trauma. I'm acting from these unconscious programs that I've inherited from my family, from school, from social media, from the news. And there's an opportunity to really unhook from that. And I'm going to break this down for you through the 4 traps, right? So 4 traps which really fuel the mechanics of this chasing after mode. First one is the progress paradox. And the analogy that I would use here is it's kind of like chasing the horizon. right? It's so silly, but like no matter how far you run, it never gets closer, right? And each achievement, like in your case, it might be getting a promotion at work or getting a salary raise or bump. It could be moving overseas to an exotic location. It could be finding a romantic partner. Each of these goals that you may have that you tick off give you a glimpse of satisfaction. But because you're not present enough to enjoy it, as soon as you reach it, the mind continues to move the goalpost. And so that's because you're wired for this constant, relentless pursuit instead of peace. So the horizon keeps shifting. And it's not because you're failing or somehow not good enough. None of that is true. It's because your brain is doing what it was designed to do, which is to seek novelty, seek variety, not contentment. And so there's an opportunity here to redefine progress from moving forward to going deeper. And an exercise for you to try on, like a jacket, right? It's one of my things. I encourage you to try on anything that I share with you like a jacket. See if it fits. If it does, great. If it doesn't, there'll be other jackets along the way. But what you might want to consider doing at the end of each day is ask yourself, did I move closer to what matters more to me? Or did I just move further away from stillness? I'll say that again. Did I move closer to what matters to me or just further away from stillness and peace? And so what this is doing is it's training your nervous system to associate satisfaction with completion, with peace, with depth, instead of continuation and forward movement. And so after every win, you can pause, you can take 3 slow, big belly breaths, name what you're proud of, name what you admire about yourself, and really let it land. And it might sound like fluffy positivity. Dave is telling me to, name what I'm proud of, this and that. This is, at least for me and for clients and people who I've shared this with, it's really become a skill of enjoying the present moment and really basking in your glory and enjoying the fruits of your labor and realizing that it was never really about the fruit. It was about the person that you became along the way. It's a conversation for another day, but we'll push on. Number 2, the second trap that fuels this chasing after is the scarcity program. Now, I spoke about this in my story, and so we'll double click a little bit more onto that. But if you can think about it, it's like the scarcity program is like growing up in a drought, and even when the rain comes, you're still hoarding water. So if you were raised around fear, instability, or pressure, your body learned that safety is conditional. My family, my parents migrated from Romania, country that was recovering from communism. They came from poverty-stricken areas to Australia in 1991 with a couple of suitcases and $3,000 to their name. And so I grew up around this level of scarcity. I mean, my parents did incredibly well and are doing incredibly well. And I'm in awe of what they've been able to achieve to be able to build the kind of independence that they have, and the security that they now have. And yet, at an unconscious level, I was still exposed to these programs like, there's never enough money, or money doesn't grow on trees, or, we don't have enough for this and for that. And what that's doing as you're continuously exposed to it is that when your life finally feels abundant, your nervous system doesn't trust it. So you stay in hypervigilance and you're always scanning for what could go wrong. You're always scanning about things running out, time running out, money running out, you not being good enough, and you're unable to rest. You're unable to find peace. So the solution here and the workaround is to teach your body to feel safe. And if you're listening to this, you likely have shelter. You likely have access to food. You are listening to me or watching me on an intelligent technological device. You have everything that you need, right? And so that language is super important as well. That's part of rewiring your subconscious, because what I hear very often, what I certainly heard growing up is, we need more money, or I need more time. And need refers to the basic level of needs, Maslow's hierarchy. Do you have everything that you need right now to exist? Yeah, you do. You have everything that you need right now. So there's an opportunity to regulate before you reason with life. and with this situation. So when you notice the urge to push harder and it's coming from this contracted state of feeling like you don't have enough, you're not going to have enough, you're running out of time or you're running out of money, just stop, drop your awareness into your body, feel your feet, breathe into your belly again. I know it might sound weird, but I promise you this works. And remind yourself nothing's missing in this moment. I have everything that I need. Nothing is missing in this moment. I have everything I need. I have food in the fridge. I have a roof over my head. I have a comfy bed to sleep in. I have friends or loved ones that I can call on. I have everything I need. And so over time, your nervous system learns that calm and rest doesn't mean scarcity or danger. It means you are exactly where you need to be. And you start the process of deprogramming yourself from the scarcity program. We'll push on. Now, the third trap is the identity loop. The identity loop, it's kind of like a shark that has to continuously keep swimming just to stay alive. You remember Bruce from Finding Nemo? Fish are friends, not food. Banger of a movie. Watch that again. When your worth is tied to what you do, then slowing down feels like you're drowning. Slowing down feels like you're failing. I certainly felt that as well. That's why I kept on pushing with my startup. And it's not you're not resting because you think rest means death of your momentum, death of your relevance, death of your identity. I remember that I felt like if I didn't stop consistently posting to stay relevant on social media, I would fall away into oblivion and obscurity. And that's like subtly, I mean, if you're a creator, if you're a business person, there is that unconscious program that you always need to be posting. It creates a lot of pressure. There's so many examples of people who have created, massive success online and they're not always posting. And there is this like, new mentality emerging that, you have to be always on. And it's quite dangerous. It's really perpetuating this hustle culture and at the expense of people's well-being and general livelihood. And the irony is that like this endless motion, forward movement, action actually disconnects you from the very self that you're trying to prove exists. It completely disconnects you. You abandon yourself. You abandon your needs. I mean, if you're like me, you were, putting things off that actually would have lit you up, like hobbies, interests. Maybe you were self-medicating like I was, drugs, alcohol, porn, shopping, gambling, pick your poison, and just to try and cope with the pressure of constantly being on. That's a lot of pressure. When your identity is tied to what you do, then it's like you're never allowed to slow down. You're never allowed to rest and just enjoy peace. So the solution here is really to separate who you are from what you do. Start by noticing the language that you use to refer to yourself as. Maybe you say, I'm a manager, I'm a salesperson, I'm a founder, I'm a coach, I'm creative, I'm successful. There's a subtle distinction here because these are your roles. They're not your essence. They're not your true nature. And so what I would encourage you to do is to replace them with statements like, I do meaningful work as a manager, salesperson, founder, coach, creative. And I know it might seem like a really small, trivial thing, but that subtle shift actually rewires your identity from attachment to expression. I really felt the weight of this trap. Maybe I felt the pain of stubbing my toe or having my toe crushed in this trap. When I had to shut down the business, I was really left with no other options. And then because I'd attached the business to my identity, I saw myself as this guy with the title of a founder, with the team, with users, with the community, with a persona, right? There's a really strong attachment identification with this egoic identity. Then without all of those things, it was like an ego death for me and I felt completely lost and hollowed out. So when you say I do meaningful work as a insert role, you are rewiring your identity from attachment to expression. You are loosening the grip of this trap around you. Remember that your worth isn't the movement, it's the awareness behind the movement. Because you are not your name, you are not what you do, you're not your salary, you're not your possessions, you're not what you accumulate, you're not your culture. These are all expressions of your awareness, of your soul, of your true essence or your true nature, of the observer behind your body, behind your ego mind, behind your heart. Okay? I might descend into esotericism here and there. So thanks for sticking with me. The last trap is social comparison and this endless mirror. It's endless mirror. It's this constant distraction. It's kind of like, have you seen the, is it called mukbang? I think it's called mukbang. Like videos of people eating food. I think it's what it is. Maybe you can help me out here. But it's like you're eating your food, your fried rice, and then you're watching someone on a mukbang video eat their fried rice. And it's like you're so immersed in the video that you stop tasting your own food. You stop tasting your own life. And that's in many ways, in some ways, right? Like that's in some ways what social media is. It's turned life into performance art. And so you're scrolling and you're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel, forgetting that they're curating just like you. And so you're really comparing yourself to an illusion and then creating this story in your mind about why you're not good enough in comparison to an illusion. It doesn't even exist. It's fabricated. And so what happens is your nervous system gets completely hijacked by other people's timelines. You drop into stress, into anxiety because of this comparison, and you lose self-reference. You lose your internal compass. So the next time you open your phone, just ground yourself in your own reality. Take one breath and remind yourself that I measure my progress and my growth by my peace, not by their pace, not by their highlights. You are on your own unique journey. You have gone through your own unique conditioning and upbringing and family and culture and hardships and trauma, completely distinctly unique to everyone else around you. So there's no reason to compare because even what you see is also completely illusory. And even on that, I would encourage you, this is something I've done which has made a real difference to my mental health, is just to audit your environment in person and online. So mute, unfollow, pause, block anything or anyone that pulls you out of your peace, that pulls you out of your presence, and just tune into information and into content that makes you feel good, that puts you at ease. That's what I do. I mean, there's so much crap out there. There's so much crap to get lost in the dark corners of the internet. And unless you condition yourself and you train your mind and you audit your environment to really serve you, then you'll get pulled into it and your nervous system will get hijacked and your amygdala will start firing and you'll constantly be on threat detection in fear that you're somehow behind or things aren't going your way or you are not good enough or you don't have enough. Because there's a bunch of stuff out there online that will remind you of that. And there's also a bunch of stuff out there that will remind you how beautiful and powerful and driven and loving and compassionate and authentic and unique you are as a human being. So keep tuning into stuff like that that makes you feel good. That's what I'd encourage you to do, at least. So with these 4 traps, the horizon that you're chasing, the drought, the shark, the fried rice, they all stem from this one wound, the belief that peace is earned later instead of being available right now. The belief that peace is earned later instead of being available right now. Peace is available right now. Peace is available right now if you allow yourself to tune into it, and you become liberated, wink wink, when you stop trying to arrive somewhere and realize you already have. One of my mentors, Constantine, and brothers and friends, and you'll hear from him real soon, has played that game of chasing the superficial trappings of success. And one of the things that he says that he always comes back to is there's no there. So the narrative that runs in people's minds, that ran in my mind, that might be running in your mind, is I'll be happy when I get there. I'll be happy when I get the big house with the white picket fence, when I get married, when I pay off my mortgage, when I travel around the world, when I do this and that and that. I'll be happy, I'll be at peace when I get there. But there's no there. There is no there. And there are signs that I identified in my journey that I realized that I was stuck on the treadmill. We looked at this briefly in the first episode, the hedonic treadmill, but I want to kind of go a little bit deeper because this is what this episode is really about. It's about the treadmill and the chasing after mode that you might be stuck in right now. There are 5 signs that you're stuck on the treadmill, right? The first one is you can't celebrate your wins without moving the goalpost. You can't be present to enjoy the fruits of your labor without constantly worrying about what's next. You feel guilty resting, so you feel guilty slowing down and pouring back into you for a day, a week, a month, a year, flooded with guilt. You overfill your schedule to avoid stillness, so constantly booking up every slot in your calendar with stuff that deep down you know this isn't really aligned, or this isn't going to serve me, or this is pulling me away from what's really important, but you do it anyway because you avoid stillness and you're afraid of that stillness and that solitude and that peace. You might downplay achievements or compliments or praise. So, you hit a goal and, you might be celebrated, but then play it down and be like, oh, well, it's nothing, like, it's no big deal. Or, yeah, but I thought I'd do better, or whatever your narrative is, right? You don't allow yourself to bask in your own pride and joy and self-admiration. And the 5th sign is you need chaos to feel alive. If things aren't going wrong, if there aren't fires to put out, then you feel like something's wrong. And you may even unconsciously create your own fires to put out, either in your own life or in other people's lives, so that you can fix them. Again, there's no judgment here, but like this, and these are all signs that I've noticed in my life that helped to remind me that I wasn't tapping into the peace and the presence that was available to me right now. And so I want to share with you some steps to really help you break free from this cycle, break free from the chase, and to let you know that it's actually very achievable. It's very achievable. So the first step is awareness. Awareness really is the first step of every transformation, I believe. So the next time that you get that next impulse, like what's next, name it out loud, name it and label it for what it is. Oh, there's the chase again. There's that conditioning, right? So there's awareness. The next step is regulation. So when the urge hits, when you feel that pang of the insecurity or inadequacy or scarcity speaking to you, just breathe out longer than you breathe in. And we can do one together now. So we'll do in for 4 and out for 8. So in for 4 and out for 8. Hope you did that with me, because if you didn't, you better pause, rewind, go back and do it. Give yourself that feeling now, just one breath. One breath to find peace, to give yourself validation, to tap into ease. Let your body know that it's safe to slow down. And then reflect, ask yourself, what am I hoping that this achievement will make me feel? Like I was saying before, maybe hoping that this achievement will make me feel happy or at peace or validated or at ease. And you can give yourself that feeling now. Because ultimately, whenever we are chasing things, we're really chasing the feeling that we think that thing is going to give us. I'll say that again. When we're chasing things, possessions or achievements to accumulate, to acquire, we're really chasing the feeling that we think that thing is going to give us. And, you may realize that, oh, I thought that building a business or moving overseas or getting a promotion would mean that I feel happier and free. But then you realize that actually, you hit it, might be a fleeting feeling, but then you realize, oh shit, this is actually quite stressful. This is actually quite challenging. This is actually demanding more from me. And so you achieved the thing, but the feeling that you were chasing it's not the feeling that you were expecting. So realize you can give yourself that feeling now. I digress. We've done 3 steps: awareness, regulation, and reflection. Give yourself that feeling now. 4th step is redefine. So replace chasing more with meaning. Instead of anchoring your goals in your achievements and the things that you collect, anchor them to your values and to your habits. Anchor them to your inputs. How am I showing up today? Am I showing up like a kind, caring, loving, ambitious, driven, supportive, conscious human being that's able to self-regulate, that's able to pour back into me when I feel like I'm off kilter or I need to rest? Am I showing up like that person today? And so when that becomes the goal, then you're always able to achieve that state of inner peace and contentment, because the possessions and the achievements will come and go, right? Those are the bonuses. The juice, the real flavor is in the main meal. It's in the main meal. The main meal is the being, is who you are. It's how you're showing up. Because then your being influences your doing, and then your doing influences your having. And so the being is like the bangers and mash. The being is like the bangers and mash, and then the doing is the peas, and the having is like the gravy or the ketchup or whatever you have bangers and mash with. So why are you chasing peas and ketchup when you're missing out on the main meal? The main meal. I might make some bangers and mash. Maybe that's the play. Could be the move. So that's the 4th step. And the 5th step is integration. So end each day asking, where did I feel enough today? Not what did I do? Don't base your worth or how you feel on how many things you ticked off your to-do list, right? So it's because when you're able to remind yourself of the being, of the main meal, of your enoughness, then you won't need ambition. You'll have a cleaner fuel because you're always operating from this full cup. You'll always be operating from this state of inner peace and contentment. And then the actions that you take thereafter will come from this authentic, grounded, peaceful place. There'll be really conscious actions that lead to really conscious, peaceful, productive results, as opposed to from this state of insecurity, inadequacy, scarcity, and stress that will only lead to stress-based actions and stress-based results. So to bring this in for a landing, this isn't about you quitting your goals, right? Still dream big, still pour your heart and your soul into something that excites you. Want more, create more. I'm all about that. Human beings are more making creatures, but just stop confusing your motion and your action with meaning. You were never built to sprint forever. You were built to grow, to rest, to rise again from peace. That's your natural state. Your natural state is peace instead of pressure. So if you are acting from a place of pressure, then know that you're not in your natural state. The body's or the nervous system's natural state is one of wellness. And if there's any dis-ease, if the body or the nervous system is not at ease, or there's pressure or stress in the system, know that there's a distortion there, that something is off kilter and that you've fallen off baseline. And it's not about trying to be at a baseline level of peace all the time like a monk, right? That's just like it's not attainable. It's not attainable. And it's not the idea. The idea is to understand when I've come off kilter and then to come back and go through that 5-step process, go through the awareness. Oh, there's that chase again. There's that insecurity, the inadequacy, the scarcity. Regulate, slow down, breathe, reflect. What am I hoping that this achievement will make me feel? Give yourself that feeling now. Redefine your goals by anchoring them to your values, to your habits, to your identity. And then integrate. Where did I feel enough today? Did I show up like the person that I say I am? Okay? So thanks for tuning in. I really, really appreciate you being here in this conversation with me and riding the roller coaster of science and ancient wisdom and bangers and mash and silly jokes. I really, really appreciate you being here. I'm sending you a lot of love, and I'll see you in the next episode.